We have another good change to something that shouldn't have been like that in the realm of sort of clearly unfinished. Now, this does not affect like so many WoW people because we're not all mythic rating, are we? Kel'Thuzad. So this, would have been good for Dakor a little while ago. He's since progressed that, of course. Right, Dark Surge. Successfully interrupting KT's vengeful destruction unleashes energy from the phylactery, refreshing major cooldowns. While it's currently unclear what exactly they mean by major cooldowns, what it should mean is we'll no longer need to sit an AFK for over half the fight so that major healing CDs will be back up by the next phase in order to deal with the spikes. So basically, the kind of dumb thing strategy in Mythic, from what I understand, just involved a bunch of downtime that made it not very fun to progress through.
Massive downtime, yeah.
So, there we go. Additionally then, a bit of a class tuning highlight in that the following AoE abilities are no longer max target capped and instead are just the new formula of reduced damage beyond 5 targets. That's Glaive Tempest, the talent for Demon Hunters, and Spinning Crane Kick for the Monks. And then the same, but for 8 enemies. Sacrificial Pact, Consumption, Bone Storm, Bursting Swords, Reanimated Shambler,
I imagine.
Fell Barrage, Arcane Echo, Fan of Knives, Crimson Orb as well. Oh my God.
God, you can't read.
Fan of Knives and Crimson Tempest, Black Powder, Shuriken Storm, and then the one that I missed, which was Frozen Orb for the Frost Mages, and then the Fell Guards, Fell Storm, and Blade Storm. So there you go, just more abilities being updated for the new change, which is basically sort of the removal of the AoE cap. I mean, it literally is a removal of the cap. It's just that it's reduced damage beyond where that cap would have been, which so somebody said, is that just 8 targets or is this new? No, you do 0 damage. Like, you just literally wouldn't hit anything past 8 targets, or in the case of a few of these past 5 targets. Now it just does reduce damage. If you want to check that out, go to our Clips channel. We covered, we sort of chatted through Wowhead's, basically, maths and coverage of how it worked. It's on the Clips channel. But overall, it's a good change. It will mean more DPS, I suppose. Not humongously more unless you're dealing with, like, 10 plus mobs, but what it will mean is that if you are just doing a big gigapool when you're going trying to farm some mogs or something in a legacy raid, you're not going to do a frost scythe and it's going to hit 5 guys when there's like 20 guys in front of you. So it's just going to be more intuitive. So okay, next, this is a great thing. / ignoring a player blocks all characters in the WoW account.
Yo, that's sick.
That's a great change.
Has it not been standard for years? Oh my goodness.
True. Great change though. I think Blizzard are probably just as time goes on, more and more aware of of things like this. I think that's a good move.
Oh,
because
yeah.
If someone's being a cock, get rid of him.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that as like the what I was doing earlier with 3 months old stuff. I actually literally was just like, oh, really? That's.
Oh, yeah. No, so that's great.
Nice.
Also then, the newly added character customization options will be marked with a new tag in the character creation screen and barbershop.
Yes, that was actually really helpful. I saw it on PTR and I was like, wow, that's interesting. That's new. Very cool.
Certainly, if you're going to do a cool new thing, let people know. The UI lets them know. Great. They'll literally appreciate what is there more because they'll be more aware of the new shit. So that's just a smart thing to do. And then this is a great one. The Adventure Guide's loot pane now separates normal loot from bonus loot, which will more clearly indicate what bits of loot compete. So, of course, for all of us, we know that a conduit drop is not going to drop in favor of a piece of loot, right?
Yeah.
But for your average player who just hops into an LFR or a normal or something, and they're not reading Wowhead, they don't they're not super clued into how all these things work, which I mean they shouldn't have to be for the game to be a sensible experience. Now this just means for those people, they know what's up. They know how the loot works. That's good.
Yeah, there's literally no way to tell that before, outside of just understanding it. So.
Yeah.
Good.
So next then, the Alliance Hall of Fame is now full, and this does mean that Cross Realm Mythic will be next week. So there you go. And what's really funny here, I suppose, is Cross Realm Mythic, people probably would have wanted it earlier, but of course the faction imbalance.
Yeah, it's really
problem.
brutal.
Alliance kind of held a lot of the top end people back, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a whole ongoing thing about where the sort of the big rating communities are. So there is that. Congrats to all of you. Now then, we've got some recent live hotfixes. So, Sylvanas, good news here. They've optimized game performance at the initialization of the first 2 phases of the Sylvanas encounter, and they say that thanks to community reports, they've discovered a way to optimize the process that caused performance drops at the beginning of the fight and the beginning of phase 2, which is the bridge phase. Basically, there was just a bunch of shite queued up at the front, so as soon as the fight triggered, lag issues. So, great. So, good to see they're working on that. Always good to squash bugs, and hopefully some lessons have been learnt that can be applied to the future, which will mean it'll be less likely for not good things to happen. Now, they've also fixed an issue where Mistweaver monks could could be preferentially targeted by Wailing Arrow in Stage 3. So if you thought that you were just getting a rough deal, turns out you were.
Yep.
But again, it's the sort of thing, sometimes that can just be pretty easy to miss in testing.
Yeah,
sometimes, right?
I do have to wonder what on God's earth is going on in that code that could even happen.
Who knows?
I mean, is it literally someone hit a variable wrong, or is it some massive cascading effect of code going wrong? I'd love to know.
We've all had a very non-intuitive bug in our own code, so It's probably just that again.
Yep.
They've also fixed an issue where both tank spec players could be targeted with the same Black Arrow cast. So that wouldn't be good. They fixed an issue where Dark Sentinels could cast Rage on targets struck by very recent Black Arrow. So there you go. More fixes there.
Yeah, it's funny. That reminds me of Stone Legion Generals, where there's so much of fight quality can be completely destroyed by a little bit of how enemies queue their attacks doesn't go right or doesn't go wrong. It's a thing where, SLG was bad for overlaps that were random and wrecked people on Mythic. So it's kind of funny that little things like that could have a massive impact on potential quality if you get hit by Rage after Black Arrow a couple times in a row. Kind of reminds me of, this is a topic for another time, but Deathloop's AI, where the AI in that game is certainly subpar and hurts the game overall.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm still looking forward to playing it.
It's still good.
That's your fault.
Yep.
So
still good, but
okay, interesting.
Just the thought of how it's often overlooked as a concept. People go, what's the design? Like, what's wrong with the game? Oh, it doesn't feel good to shoot, or the levels are designed wrong, or something. It's like, no, literally, like the AI is a little bit doesn't act the way you'd expect.
Well, Matt, I'm basically a lifelong Total War player.
Yeah.
So my fellow Total War players, we know what's up with AI, right?
Yeah.
Shogun 2 is the one with the best AI, etc., etc., etc. Single unit entities. Anyway.